Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Glad you're hanging out with us. Glad to be hanging out with Glen West. He's the senior writer at Go 24/7. Joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, thanks for being on with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you?
Doing quite well. Did you watch more of LSU Grambling or Alabama Texas in the press box?
Well, I had to watch LSU Grambling. So I mean, if you're covering the game, you kind of have to be there and watch all four quarters. So it was nice to get a little bit of a break every once in a while to kind of check in on Alabama, but it was primarily LSU Grambling.
Did you learn anything watching LSU Grambling?
I don't think so. I think what you have to do in these kinds of games is take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, look, it's very hard for an offense to go 10 touchdowns in 10 drives. I think that doesn't really need to be said. I mean, that no matter who you're playing at this kind of level, it's hard to do that with that kind of efficiency. So, with that being said, I do think that it's the kind of performance you were hoping to see from this offense after a pretty lackadaisical second half against Florida State. Was very concerned in the first quarter and a half with the defense and especially against the run. They just seemed to be kind of out of position on a lot of those third and longs. And part of that was by design, which Coach Kelly went into a little bit after the game. But they were able to get it fixed and obviously hold Grambling down, the last 7 or 8 drives of the game and not really allow them to get going after that. But it certainly is going to be a question mark. I think heading into this game in particular about just kind of how much improvement can be made on the defensive side of the ball, particularly against the run.
What do you make of the entirety of the Denver Harris era here in Baton Rouge thus far?
It's been a roller coaster for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the media and certainly myself didn't expect to see him much early in the season, but it sounds like he's turned a corner, or at least started to turn a corner. Brian Kelly has said a lot of positive things about Denver in the last couple weeks and kind of leading up to that opportunity that he had against Grambling. I don't know exactly what to make of kind of his start here. I mean, it's been very up and down. He had, I think he had some nice moments against Grambling. He had obviously the one touchdown that was caught with him in coverage. It was honestly a really good catch because he was in pretty good coverage. But I mean, I think he will continue to be a part of the rotation, it sounds like, this week, and I'll be interested to see if he kind of really takes over that job or if it's more of a Deuce Chestnut / Denver Harris / Sage Ryan opposite Zy Alexander. I honestly don't know what to expect this weekend in terms of the secondary, but they're going to have a great challenge, I think, with Will Rogers and a guy who's obviously a veteran quarterback and has been around for a long time.
How'd Maason Smith look to you?
Yeah, rusty. I mean, I think you kind of got to go with the coach's word there. I mean, he was, competitive and certainly looked like he was giving great effort, but I just think it's going to take some time to get his game day legs back. And, I think it'll be interesting to see how many more reps he gets. I mean, I think he was around 35, 36 snaps against Grambling. We'll see if it goes up into the 40s against Mississippi State. But I also want to see them move him around. I mean, Brian Kelly talked about it some last week, but if they can get him some snaps at D end and certainly in D tackle next to Mekhi Wingo, I think he has a chance to be a really versatile piece for this defense. But it's really just going to be about getting his legs back and making sure that he's really comfortable with the snaps that he's getting.
Can't tell much with Lance Hurd playing against Grambling, but just your gut instinct on who starts at right tackle on the road against Mississippi State on Saturday.
I think they probably stick with Emory Jones at right tackle with the Miles Frazier at right guard. I mean, Brian Kelly said it yesterday. That's kind of what they're planning to do, but it does sound like they're going to continue to use the Lance Hurd kind of in that every other series kind of role. And if he starts playing extremely well, maybe you just stick with it for the rest of the game. I think that is certainly going to be on the table for LSU. I thought he looked fine. He looked pretty good. He didn't really miss any blocks, and like you said, it was against Grambling. But the bigger takeaway that I had was that LSU seemed very comfortable running to the right side with him and Emory Jones in that game. I thought Logan Diggs really broke off a couple of his big long runs on the right-hand side, and I thought Delancey, kind of in the elements there of his debut, really held his own and did a nice job. So I'll be interested to see how he progresses this week.
I know that you don't know, but your guess as to what the running back rotation looks like on Saturday, and then I'm going to ask you what it looks like in a month and a half, but start with Saturday.
Yeah, so I think Logan Diggs will probably get a good bit of work. I would imagine that Caleb Jackson gets some snaps. I would imagine that Josh Williams and Noah Cain get some snaps. I don't know what to expect out of John Emery. I know he's going to be back, but maybe they get him in for a few snaps in the passing game. But I think LSU really, I think this is going to be a big week for Logan Diggs and kind of the running back room as a whole. I think if Logan Diggs has a really nice day on Saturday, he could really establish himself as the feature guy in that room. And I think that's kind of what LSU's been missing the last couple of years. They've really worked a lot of different guys trying to find, the hot hand, if you will, on a game-to-game basis. But if they can have a guy that they really can count on week in, week out to be kind of an explosive runner for them, that's obviously the optimal situation to be in.
What do you think that running back rotation looks like against Texas A&M after Thanksgiving?
Well, if they all stay healthy,
yeah, they'll take health for granted.
Yeah, you got to make sure they're all healthy. But I still think it's going to be Diggs. I mean, I really don't have a lot to complain about in terms of his performance last weekend. I know it was against Grambling, but he looked pretty explosive back there, and I think, like I said, this is going to be a big test for him. And for this offensive line, for this offense as a whole, to really get the run game going and see if he can't be a pretty big fixture in that. But I also think that Caleb Jackson showed you a lot of great things in the second half as well. And I'll be very interested to see if his opportunities continue to increase over the next couple of weeks, if he can't carve out more of a role. I think there are a lot of options still on the table. Brian Kelly seemed to think so yesterday when we were talking with him. So I'm not going to rule anything out, but if I had to guess, I would say probably Logan Diggs is your go-to guy by the end of the season.
Chatting with Glen West, Go 24/7. He's our senior writer over there for all your team and recruiting coverage. How'd Nuss look? It's the question that's got to be asked, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had, 7 or 8 passes?
6 throws,
game.
I think.
Yeah, 6. Yeah, I mean, they obviously really relied on the run. I think in the second half they were trying not to run the score up too much, which is very understandable. But yeah, I thought he looked good. I mean, he made really good throws. I think he was 4, 5, 6 from passing. Drove, right down the field on 3 different drives. I mean, they had pretty good positioning to start on the field on, I think, a couple of those drives at least to start. And so they were able to convert and punch it in. But I think a lot of the kind of the talk after the game was why they didn't let him pass more, and you certainly would like to see him get some more opportunities to throw, I think, going forward. But there's no doubt that I think this offense can run really, really well with Nussmeier back there. It's good to get him some experience with some of those younger guys that he's going to be throwing to in the future. But yeah, I think he did a really nice job, and like I think a couple of the incompletions that he had were just plain drops. Shelton Sampson had a rough day in his debut. So, I mean, they were all in the money, and I thought Nuss played well.
All right, let's move to Mississippi State. Your thoughts on the Bulldogs under Coach Arnett for the first time?
Yeah, it's a very different look, of course. Obviously, with the tragic passing of Mike Leach, this is a very different looking offense. They've really relied on the run game. I mean, Jaquavius Marks is leading the SEC in rushing yards through 2 games. So my eyes are going to be glued to the run game, I think, at least to start this game. He's an explosive guy, and he's one of the better backs, I think, in the conference. And he has a chance to really break a game open if LSU's front 7 isn't prepared. So that's going to be something I'm going to be looking out for. Will Rogers is still a very accurate veteran, 4-year starter kind of quarterback that I think he'll take some chances, and he'll certainly test this secondary as well. But it's going to be a big challenge, I think, for the secondary and for this defense as a whole to really make some market improvements. This is a team that's probably kind of in the middle of what LSU has seen so far. They're not on the Florida State level. They're not on the Grambling level. They're somewhere kind of in the middle there. And LSU is going to need, I think, to have a really strong performance here to really feel good about themselves kind of going into conference play. So it's going to be a very important weekend, I think, defensively and offensively. I think if you can get the run game going a little bit, get Jaden to take a couple chances downfield, be a little bit more aggressive, while also continuing to lean on what he does well, I think it could be a good outcome for LSU.
Who do you think's going to win the SEC West?
Oh man, yeah, that. I mean, if you had to put me on the spot right now, I would probably say LSU.
Okay.
I think LSU has a chance to win most of their games the rest of the way out. But it's as wide open as it's ever been. It wouldn't be surprising if a team like Ole Miss made a great run, or Auburn, or anybody can really make a run. I think this year, this is a pretty wide open West, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.